Hey, what's going on? This is Carlo of 4GQ TV. I'm here at St. Pete Comic Con, and I'm here with
Wally Wingert.
Nice. So, Wally, I see that you've done.
He didn't know who I was. He had to ask me. He came into my table. I have no idea who you are, so give your own name. But no, I'm just joking.
No, that's true. No, sometimes I pronounce names wrong, so it's a good trick, so I don't pronounce it wrong.
See. Yes. Because there is a couple different ways to pronounce Wingert. Wally's pretty much the same all over the world, but it could be Wingert if you're French.
Wingert.
It could be Wingert, or it could be Wingert or Wingert. So take your pick. I'm not that picky. Yeah.
Wingert?
We're on a first name basis, so just call me Wally.
All right, well.
There you go.
So, Wally, you have done a tremendous amount of different characters throughout your career.
I'm really talking to a guy, but there's really a guy here. You don't see him, but you're only seeing me, but there really is a guy there.
I'm invisible.
He's not a puppet. There he is. He's not a puppet. He's not an android. He's a real guy. Now tell me your name.
My name is Carlo.
Carlos.
Carlo.
Carlo.
See,
oh, like
two different ways to say it.
Different ways to say it.
Yeah.
Like Carlo in the new Pinocchio movie by Guillermo del Toro. Carlo was the little boy who died, and that's why he made Pinocchio. So.
Yes.
And the guy who wrote the Pinocchio story was named Carlo as well, why they probably named the kid Carlo. Anyway, I digress. Hi.
Hey.
You ask me questions. I don't ask you.
No, that's all right. Hey, I like where that was.
Our jobs here.
I like where that was going.
Okay.
So you've done a ton of characters throughout your career. I see so many different characters here. Any of the characters that you've done that you had like an emotional relationship to, where you felt stronger towards than any of the other characters?
Yeah, there's two of them. The Riddler, because I don't suffer fools easily. And when you're driving in LA traffic, sometimes that's a challenge because there's a lot of fools out on the road driving around doing stupid stuff, and then I turn into the Riddler and yell and scream at them. And also John Arbuckle from the Garfield show, because the way he talks to Garfield and Odie is the way I talk to my dog and cat. You know, you have that, hey, what's going on? Do you want a treat? You know, it's real, like, the musicality is what the animals, respond to. So, on my good days, I'm John Arbuckle. On my bad days, I'm the Riddler. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any riddles for us?
Yes. There are 3 men in a boat with 4 cigarettes, but no matches. Wait, I should probably do this as Frank Gorshin. I won't do the Arkham Riddle. I'll do the Frank Gorshin Riddler. This Riddler from '66 Batman. Riddle me this, Batman, you cold clod. There are 3 men in a boat with 4 cigarettes, but no matches. How do they manage to smoke?
The boat sinks?
Wrong! They threw 1 cigarette overboard and made the boat a cigarette lighter. Get it?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, thank you very much.
That was good. So how did you get your start in voice acting?
I was a radio DJ when I was a kid, like 16, 17. I used to do a lot of voices in my radio show because I'd been doing voices since I was a kid, just for fun. And when I moved to Los Angeles in '87 to be an actor, I quickly fell out of love with on-camera acting and said, "Oh, I like voiceover. I like going into a studio and making voices and sounds and stuff." So that's how I started. So yeah.
Oh wow!
And you book one job, and they book another job. You get to know people, and the casting directors get to know what you can do, and it's pretty nice, pretty fun.
Wow! So you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, well, my first thing I think was in 1992, back before you were alive. Well, nobody was alive, but I was working. And then I really got going in about 1998. It's when I quit all my other jobs and said, no, this is my full-time thing now. So, and I've never done anything else since, so thanks, God.
What is the most difficult kind of character voice that you had to do?
I don't consider them difficult as much as challenging.
Nice way to put it.
Even like some of the creature or monster voices, you just have to have a lot of a lot of lubrication. As I call vocal lubrication. So you'll do a line like, "I'm going to kill you 14 different ways." Gotta have a drink. Take 2. So as long as you keep it lubricated and moist, you won't ruin your instrument. But you know, there have been those jobs where after 3-4 hours you're going home going, wonder what my dog wants to eat for dinner tonight, and you're like, hope my voice comes back by the time next session rolls around. That's why a lot of people were doing video game sessions, which are notoriously hard on the voice, on Fridays. So they had the weekend to kind of repair and rest and relax. So it's tough. So yeah, there's a lot of monsters and yelling and screaming, and sometimes in video games you have to die about 15, 16 different ways. Depending on what you do in the game, sometimes the guy will just get a flesh wound and you'll just get injured, but the character will continue. Sometimes the character will be stabbed and set on fire and thrown off a cliff. Well, you got to sound like you've been stabbed and set on fire and thrown off a cliff. So it's a bit challenging. So I'm at the point now where I don't really take a lot of those jobs anymore. I'm like, it's not really worth it. Blow my voice out for a video game. It doesn't really matter. Let the kids do it. Let the young up and comers do it. So anyway, so that's video games are challenging. Yeah, vocally.
What was the last video game character you voiced? Do you remember?
Last video game? Well, I can't tell you about some of them because I'm under strict NDA. But this one is great, which is JP from Street Fighter. Just came out, and he's like a really cool, mellow voice. He's British and he's low and he's an honor to be sure. My name is JP. So he's basically an evil Roger Moore, you know. So it's a very cool, and he never yells, he never gets upset, he never screams. And I'm like, sure, sign me up. I want to do it because he just never gets irritated, never yells. He might do a couple little things when he's frustrated, but it's not anywhere near the normal video game, you know, yelling and screaming, setting you on fire and everything. So JP from Street Fighter, folks. Good on you.
And, you know, the last question I have for you, I always ask different voice actors this. Do you prefer a home studio or do you prefer going into an actual studio?
Going into an actual studio. During the pandemic, we had to have our home studio setups. And I've had a home studio setup for a long time because just sending in auditions. But you would send in an audition and then you'd get cast and then you'd go to a studio. But during the whole thing, we were recording actually at our homes. And I prefer not to have my home be my workplace. I want my home to be my home. And I was just talking to Dexter about this. Dexter has a really cool setup. Say hi, Dexter. Dexter's my new best friend. He lives in Atlanta, but he has, how far is your commute to your studio? 20 feet? Yeah. He's got a separate, it's not in his house, but it's a separate part where he goes from his house to his other studio. That's a good, but my setup is kind of in my house. So I don't want to come down at the end of the, in the morning and look at my thing and go, oh, there's work. Oh, no. I like my home to be my home. So anyway.
And then
he just told him to get the heck out of the way.
Yeah, he did. So we asked the icebreaker question at the end. Pineapples on pizza, yes or no?
No. Yes. Sauerkraut? Yes.
Oh, unique.
That's unique. I'm from the Midwest where there's a lot of Germans. A lot of the German people in the Midwest, they love to have the sauerkraut on the pizza. And I grew up with it as a kid, and it's delicious. Delicious. But pineapple, no. Now, don't get me wrong, I love pineapple. Not on a pizza. Pineapple Dole Whip, you know what Dole Whip is? Regular pineapple. I have pineapple almost every night, chunks of pineapple. But never, no. That's like mixing Star Trek and Star Wars. It's just not going to ever be happening in my universe.
All right, nice.
Not allowed.
I like that. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Is this it?
I mean, we can go on.
Any questions from the crowd?
4 hours. We can do a 4-hour radio show.
Yes, well, I have. Yeah, maybe Dexter has a question for me. Dexter, ask me a question.
What's your favorite voice that you've done?
Oh, you're gonna love this. It's the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Favorite job of all time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was the Tonight Show announcer for 4.5 years with Jay Leno.
You did that?
I did that, yep.
You did that?
Yep.
How many years?
4.5 years. Yeah, from about 2009 to when the show left LA in 2014.
Nice.
The best job. But Jay Leno was the greatest boss ever, the greatest guy. Just can't say enough good stuff about him. All those people that worked on that show were like family. We started, I had to be at the studio every day at 3:30. We taped at 4. And it was like I would go out and do my commercials and video games and cartoons and whatever during the first part of the day. Get the work out of the, and it's like coming into NBC at 3:30 every day was like hanging out with family for some laughs. And by 5:15 every day, we're out the door and we're home. It
That's
was
amazing.
the greatest job. Yeah.
That is.
I miss it dreadfully, but I'm happy that we had it for, that I had it for 4 years.
Now, did you ever get to see his car collection? Now.
Oh yeah, many times. His garage is so clean that you could literally eat off the floors. They keep that place spotless.
Oh wow.
And you see stuff it's like, what? I didn't know they made these kind of cars, but if they made it and has a combustion engine, he'll find it. He'll get it, and he'll pay, any price. But he loves those. He loves internal combustion engines, but he also loves some electric cars now as well. But boy, he's got cars in there that there's only 1 or 2 of them in the entire world, and
wow.
he's got one of them. So it's amazing. He's an amazing guy. I love people with passion, and he has passion. And he would drive a different car to the set almost every day. He had a few favorites that he would repeat from time to time, but I would see stuff that he would drive in that was unbelievable, just unbelievable. Duesenbergs and all kinds of stuff, but then he'd show up and he'd drive an old Duesenberg. Then the next day he'd drive his McLaren with the carbon fiber body. It's like, wow, unbelievable. So
any Batmobiles in there?
No, strangely enough, Jay's not into TV or movie cars. He's not into it. He's into like cars that are collectible for different reasons, because there's a lot of different TV movie cars. There's a lot of Batmobiles. I have a 1974 Gran Torino painted like Starsky and Hutch, and he knew exactly when he saw it. He's like, hey, look at that, it's Starsky and Hutch. Yeah. And he knew what kind of engine it was. 351 Cleveland? Like, yeah, how'd you know? He knows. But he likes the more rarer, types of cars. But it's amazing. It's almost like a museum, really. It's not a garage, but it's a fully functional garage. He's got upholstery guys who work there full time, mechanics who work there full time. It's an amazing setup that he's got. So, anyway.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Any questions from you? No, she has no idea who I am, so that's fine. Anything else? Security questions?
Well, no, I just have a couple of my own, since I've actually cosplayed. It's like I'm in a cosplay group that's Gotham Underground, so we do all this thing with the whole DC villains.
Did you know I am the Godfather of Cosplay?
Okay.
I was
another fact right here, right now.
I was cosplay before cosplay was cool.
Oh.
I got the crap kicked out of me many times for dressing up in different costumes. 1981, I met Adam West for the first time. We were friends for 37 years. So I made my own Batman Adam West costume. In 1981, I was cosplaying as Adam West Batman, and my debut appearance was at the World of Wheels, where they had the Batmobile there, and I showed up in my costume. I just wanted some pictures, and the guy goes, who was with the Batmobile, hey, get in, let's get some pictures. I can get in the Batmobile? And I'm like, this thing is pretty cool. They didn't even have a name for cosplay yet. It was just being weird and dressing up. So I would go to the hospitals and see the sick kids and do things. And then they got a Superman costume, got a Darth Vader costume that he made out of cardboard and vinyl. Oh, I was doing this way before y'all. So, and I got photos to prove it. So like 81 and beyond, and then it became cosplay. And all of a sudden, it wasn't just a bunch of lonely virgin males hanging out. It was now cute girls that were dressing up. Hey, where were you when I was 20? So yes, so I blazed the trail for you all. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So I was doing that stuff a long time ago. But it was a good way in South Dakota to get your passion out. To be creative. I would make Muppet replicas. I would show up, like I said, at hospitals, art fairs, anywhere where it seemed like Batman needed to be, so it was pretty great, not knowing that someday I'd actually be a DC villain. But dreams come true. So I love that now cosplay, it's an accepted thing, and they have clubs, and it's unbelievable.
So time for you to break out the costumes again.
No, been there, done that, and had the black eye to prove it. People didn't really understand back then why you were dressing up in tights and a cape, and it wasn't anywhere near Halloween. But it's June. What you doing in a costume? Well, this is what or just people who are puzzled by why I'm dressed up as a vampire in the middle of July. It's nowhere near Halloween. Why is your son, Mrs. Wingert? Why is your son dressing up in costumes when it's not Halloween? Have you considered therapy for your son? Anyway, so that's my story. And
That's an amazing story.
Yes. Well, I want to put something on my website and call it kind of jokingly the Godfather of Cosplay, and all those pictures from a long time ago when I was doing all of that stuff. So it was but it's great to see how it's flourished and become an actual art form now. So it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Now I have other questions because you were asking other questions and it led me to some other questions. So I have questions.
What's your name?
Addison.
Addison?
Yes.
Okay, Addison's got some questions too, probably. So, yeah.
All right. Have you ever voiced Decepticons?
No. Only Autobots.
Okay. That was my question.
Yes, I was Mirage and Sideburn, but never a Decepticon.
All right.
No. I'd like to, but not there yet. Someday, maybe. I have something to aspire to now. Here I thought all this time I've done everything, but I guess I haven't.
There you go.
Addison, question from you.
Put me on the spot there. Well, I don't know. I've actually been a big fan of like the Arkham games. That actually got me into like the Riddler's persona. Like how did that I guess affect you with like, did you like getting shocked with working with Kevin Conroy and all of that?
Well, I had known Kevin long before I was the Riddler.
Oh.
There was a show called Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
And it was done at Fox Kids, which was one floor above the radio station where I used to work. So I found out that they had this new Batman series. So I got some information. I would go up to Fox Kids and get all sorts of drawings and stuff. And Kevin used to be at the agent that I was at. And I remember the agent, Christine, telling me, I just got one of our actors as the voice of Batman. I'm like, wow. So I was doing a bunch of charity work for Equity Fights AIDS, underprivileged children's thing, and Kevin was very, very supportive and came to talk to the kids and would autograph stuff and do phone messages for charity, and it was great. So I'd known Kevin long before he was ever the Riddler. But when you do a video game, you actually don't get to work with any of the other actors. You only get to do your lines. So I never really ever saw him working on the thing. And I think that he knew toward the end that it was me who was now the Riddler, that we had scenes together. But he knew me first as the radio DJ who roped him into doing charity work. So it's really funny, but I never got to really sit him down and ask him, hey, remember, it's me, I'm now your Riddler. So he's my second favorite Batman, right after Adam. So it was fun doing it. But yeah, it's and you know I know Mark Hamill because we're friends. We're both Laurel and Hardy fans, but never worked with him on the Batman stuff. When I worked with him, it was on Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, where he was Claw and I was Ant-Man. So he was in the studio. But other than that, for video games, you all record separately.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice.
The more you know. Ba-da-da-da.
Wow, you can even do music.
What's that?
You can even do music.
Oh, I have. I'm a session singer. It's funny that most every voiceover guy and girl is also a singer, because voiceover is music. You have a rhythm that you hit, and notes and pitches and things like that. So it's real interesting. I thought Addison was going to ask me about the creation of the Arkham Riddler voice, which is interesting in that.
I was actually going to ask that. Actually.
Oh, you were? Oh, I've read your mind. The direction when the audition came down was, whatever they do, we want it as far away from Mark's Joker as possible, because the Joker and the Riddler always got confused anyway. And they said, we don't want it anywhere near Mark's Joker, so do something completely different. And they said, make him like a game show host, because he'll be leading Batman through all of these traps and all of these things and everything. It's like, okay. So there was a community playhouse director I used to work with in the Midwest. And he had a beard similar to yours. And he would walk around with a cigarette like this, chain smoker, and he'd pick his beard. He was a beard picker. And he had this kind of voice where he was very slow and deliberate. And every word he said he thought was gold, you know. And he would just chew on his words, and great character. And he would say, I think we're up to performance quality, with the possible exception of Wally. You know, so I'm like, ooh, that's a good. So I remembered that voice. The other half of that Riddler, Arkham Riddler, is an actor named Michael Dunn, who was in Wild Wild West. He was Dr. Miguelito Loveless. He was a little person, but he took such joy in the horrible things that he was going to do to James West. He didn't rub his hands gleefully and go, I'm going to boil you in oil. He didn't do like the Boris Karloff kind of thing. He was so joyful about his work. Well, Mr. West, I'm going to hang you above a vat of oil and dip you in. I'll kill you that way. It'll be delightful. So he was so happy in his work. I'm like, that's what the Riddler would be. He would be so pleased at all this horrible stuff that he wants to do. And so I kind of morphed that together with that director friend of mine. And so that became Eddie Nigma, a.k.a. the Riddler. Yes, Batman, you cowled clod. Come into my lair, Batman. I know I'm going to outsmart you. That kind of thing. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I like it.
And the audience is speechless. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for your time here at St. Pete Comic-Con talking to us. It's been amazing. You are very talented.
Oh, thank you.
And
or insane, one of the two. We haven't figured out which.
Hey, both work together.
They do.
To become a genius.
Sadly enough, a lot of people in this industry are this close to insanity. So,
well, thank you.
Walking the fine line. Thank you, Carlo. Good to see you.
You too.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Addison. Thank you. And I get to keep the microphone as a parting gift, right?
They work in pairs.
Oh, they do. Okay.